Hey guys, it's me, Rohan Singh, and today I'm going to talk about another book. Earlier I talked about 1984 by George Orwell, and I also talked about recently Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. Both of those are one of my favorite books of all time, and the next one is also a part of them. The book which I'm going to talk about is Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have heard about Ray Bradbury, but he was one of the most prolific and elegant American writers in modern history. He has written over 500 short stories, has won many major awards. Perhaps one of his most well-known books of Ray Bradbury, which you've probably heard about, is Fahrenheit 451, which I also intend to read. And if I find it good enough, or it's a masterpiece, and then I'll probably make a video on it, similar to the one I made of this one. But today I'm going to talk about his book, Something Wicked This Way Comes. One of the best ways I can even describe this book is that it is dark, but it is still pretty poetic. It describes many things really vividly, and it does not shy away from making literally connections to about anything out there. You'll understand what I'm saying if you read this book. You'll understand what I'm saying from the first page you read of this book. The plot of this book is basically about two boys whose name is Will Halloway and Jim Nightshade. These two live in Greentown, Illinois, and suddenly one day at 3 a.m. in the night, a carnival arrives. And the moment this carnival arrives, many sinister things come with it. One of the main antagonists in this book, Mr. Dark, who is also known as the Illustrated Man, is the head of this carnival, and he's basically searching for those two boys which I talked about earlier, to try to convert them into the miserable freaks which live or as the pawns of the circus. I know it sounds kind of childish and wacky, but many of the great books start as childish and wacky, and then they turn into the dark and depressing books which we know of today. At least that's how I see them. This is one of those books. At first you think about as just a children's book written off a creepy circus. The main sort of point of this sinister magical carnival is that it has a sort of merry-go-round, in which if a person sits and the merry-go-round goes forward, then the person ages by 1 year. If the merry-go-round goes round backward, then the person loses one age, and as a result the person can get older but also younger. This book also delves into many themes of old age, about how people want to get young again and basically get attracted and join the circus because of their a desire to get young or get old. Now basically these two boys are being hunted by this circle because they know about the secrets of it and they need to shut them down. This also works with the themes of accepting yourself as you are and with your current age, and accepting that life, maybe if you've missed out on many opportunities, just accepting it is basically what this book works with. The leader of this weird carnival which goes from place to place, from city to city, from state to state, especially in this time, the leader of that carnival is Mr. Dark, who's basically known as the Illustrated Man. He's a very well-written antagonist. He is scary, but he's also pretty compelling, and you want to know more about him. The two children which you follow, the two boys, Will Halloway and Jim Nightshade, are also pretty well written. You find them compelling. Many of the side characters in this book are also pretty well written. For example, the teachers, and for example Mrs. Foley, the teacher, is also pretty well written, even though she's just a side character. Many of the shopkeepers are also pretty well written. In fact, this is a pretty complete book. One of the best things I can describe this book is that it's pretty complete. You read it, you really like it, it sits in the back of your mind for a long time, but you feel complete. You don't think that okay, this part was really underwhelming. I think this book needed more time to flesh out some parts. No, this book is complete. Many of the things are wrapped up. You really enjoy it in a satisfactory way, and the book is complete, which is a noble thing to do, and it's probably rare nowadays in a time where everything has a sequel. It's pretty refreshing to see a book which tells a story, wraps it up in a complete satisfactory way, and ends. Now, one of the cons which I can say about this book is that sometimes it gets a little too poetic and literally, meaning that it sometimes draws so many distinctions between from comparing one thing to another, drawing metaphors, that it gets overwhelming, and a person who is just trying to read it, understand the book and enjoy it, gets overwhelmed and gets distracted, and as a result this disrupts the flow of the book which it built so carefully. Now, the flow of the book is well written. Things move along at a decent pace. It's not quite fast but not quite slow either. It's pretty well thought out, and you will enjoy reading it. but sometimes, and again, this is not a really common occurrence, to say the least. It occurs very few times, but still those few times are noticeable. And another thing which I'm going to talk about is one of the main characters of this book, Jim Nightshade, which is the friend of Will Holloway, is pretty underdeveloped, and I think that this book should have developed him more, because the thing is, many of the story features, or at least things in the story of this book, revolve around him. But since he's not really that well developed, I don't really care about him, or at least what happens to him, and as a result, the book loses some of its emotional parts of the story which I really wanted to empathize with, but I can't, because I don't really care about this kid, because he isn't really that well developed. His other friend Will Holloway is well developed, because you see most of the things from his perspective. If I were to rate this book, I would give it a 4 out of 5. I highly recommend it. I really enjoyed this book. My description of it may sound kind of boring, but let me tell you that this is not boring. And that's it. Thank you for watching my video. Subscribe and like if you enjoyed it, and goodbye.